All right, team. I think the recording is also started, so let's get going. Hello, everyone. I hope you all can hear me and see my screen at this time. This session is first of 10-day event. I wouldn't call it as a training. It is more of an event. The intent is very simple. We are trying to enable you to get the job. Now, when we talk about the job, let's first start with what JPAC stands for. It is Job Placements and Certified Training. So before I speak about what we will intend to do in these 10 days, I just want you all to understand that in today's world, it is important to earn money. Sometimes it comes through a career, sometimes it comes through a job, and rarely through a passion that pays out. But then, for everyone's survival, this becomes critical. And one of the primary things that we have focused at IT Learn is how to learn right. We have never ever focused on teaching something that is easy for us or something that you will learn in a bookish way. So that learning right model required us to create a course content that was very important from learning. And this was specifically designed from the top jobs. So our preparation is to hit for the best. That is what we've always tried to do. And then we put them into our video/live tutorials. And at this time, what happened is through a scheduled program, we are all able to cover the entire course content. So some members go through it twice minimum. So a lot of times I've observed that if there is a 20-day training program, let us assume on something like ISTQB basic and advanced, in the first go or in the first attempt, only a very few students who prior had some knowledge or experience on ISTQB are able to get through. But for someone who's beginning, that relearning becomes important. So they have to go through it twice. And what I recommended and which has been followed predominantly at IT Learn is first watch it. When I say it, like a video series on Netflix. Now, anyone in this audience who's not aware what Netflix is, team? So what I mean to say is it is not a 90 minutes movie. It is an episode of 20, it is a season of 20 episodes. And each episode is about 90 minutes. So you have to watch it like binge watching, what we call as binge. Is this correct spelling? I'm assuming so. What happens is you get an overview idea and only you'll be able to kind of digest certain aspects. Now, what is critical is no practice during this time. So in the first attempt, do not try and practice. Don't pause the video. Don't try and open up, install, let's say, Eclipse or Java or Selenium. Don't do anything. Just watch it without breaks. Maximum pause it. Do not rewind. This becomes important because a program is completed. In the second attempt, repeat the whole thing, the whole training. Training. And this time, practice. Okay? And with just this flow, you will master anything from a knowledge perspective. I will guarantee you it will work. Knowledge. So let me give you an example. Let's talk about something that we're coming up with soon. CSDT is a bigger program, but I'll talk about ISTQB. Okay. ISTQB, currently we have divided that into a basic program, and this is more like foundation level. And then we have the advanced one, which is yet to come from us. It's not yet available. Now, Shankar has recently finished a basic foundation level. Now, let me assume that there are about 10 sessions in it. Shankar, correct me if I'm way too off, and each session being about 90 minutes each.
Yeah, a little more than that. Like we have 15 sessions of around 70 minutes.
50 more, 50% more, okay, but 70 minutes is a grace here, 70 minutes each. The reason I'm writing this is I'm trying to put a specific thing into the mind. So how do you learn? Now, let's say advanced is coming in about 2 weeks from now. Today is the 23rd, so let's look at 30th, 6th, yet to come, let's say 6th of Feb. Now, what can you do? So we're talking about 15 hours overall. Let's just put it as 18 hours in total. So 18 hours of binge watching. That's what I'm saying. Just a notepad besides you. Take notes. All right. And then come back to practice with it. Now, this is all about knowledge. Now, by the time he's there, you would have also practiced this time test, because it is all about certification test. Your intent is to get certified. You want to get the concept, but you also want to ensure that you pass the exam. Because believe me, if today I go as is and write an ISTQB test, there are very high chances I would not make it through because of not prepared for the test primarily. All right. So knowledge becomes very important, and that is something we provide. So when we develop a JPAC program, the first and foremost thing is how do we acquire knowledge on relevant skills. And this, for example, each thing is a skill. Can I request Shankar you to go back on mute? Maybe want to unmute later. Or anyone else who's not muted, please. Thank you. So this I briefly spoke about. 2 rounds. First, go through the video. Second, do it this time practicing. And now this, for me, video or live does not really say anything except for one thing, which is self-discipline. If we can maintain a little self-discipline of completing that video series, then that's great. So knowledge can be acquired through this, but a skill can only be developed through a project. I'm sorry, I took a break. So through project work. And project works are multiple. We've seen people asking you to do something like flight simulator, all the way to very complex framework implementation, right? There's so many projects, but from my perspective, projects are of 2 kinds. One is that goes on your resume, which is very important, and 2, that kind of develops skill. So when we talk about skill, all the tools, technologies, and so on that we work on, they are kind of put together into that matrix of skill. I can read everything in a manual, but if I don't use that specific tool or develop that skill, no one will hire me. Okay, and both are important things that develops your resume and that develops your skill. That is what a project work must be. Third comes hunt. Fourth is job. Do you all agree with this? Any comments on what you see so far, team? Can we all take 30 seconds for it and kind of put things in perspective? Right. So I don't see any specific questions except for a few on certification. So let's continue with it. There is someone who's not muted, team. I'm not able to unmute them. I don't know how. It does not show at my end. Varkasa Inc. HQ. Okay. So the headquarters team, they were not muted. I just muted them. Thank you. All right. So this process of hunt became very critical. So just to summarize, knowledge. Then we said we need to build skill through the right kind of project work. And finally, you hunt and then you get into a job. Now, I would like to know who from the audience is in which stage of their entire earning to learning to earning roadmap. Now, the reason this is important, team, is our success at ITLN for this program of JPAC is solidly dependent on these factors. We have been doing an awesome job out here, and I'm really glad. I feel very confident about what we're doing here. But here, I believe we can do a much more better way and keep identifying how to get you the job. So let me quickly see if there are a couple of polls that I can launch and see where you are. The first is this question. This kind of tells us who is part of our ITL and member program. The few questions from Biplab, I'm going to come to you in a few minutes, Biplab. I kind of touched there. So team, responses to this poll on if you're already part of one of our training programs, especially the ones mentioned, Selenium, CSDT, which is our certified Selenium developer training, JPAC, which we're talking about right now, and the YES, which is our year-end sale members who recently joined us. So you could quickly answer us out there, please. This tells us where we are. Oops, I'm sorry. That must have been loud. All right, team. I'm going to close this poll. It's shouldn't take more than 2-3 seconds for you all. I just got 68% votes, 70%. I'm going to close it very quickly. If you can kindly, all of you, take a second and fill it in. Thank you. I'm going to close it right now. And only 75% have voted for the next poll. I would request you all to kind of take a little bit more time, team. And as you all can see, almost 60% of you are already our audience, and I'm assuming most of you are part of JPAC. If you're not part of the JPAC program, then we'll have to discuss further on how we get you into it. Because now we will talk specifics. So far, we've been only focusing on groups of people, but now we want to get into each of you. So thank you so much for many of you joining into this group. 27% no, 17% of you already in the journey of making a decision. So I'm going to thank you for this poll, team. I'm going to hide this and back to screen. So from an agenda point of view, I'm going to quickly talk about JPAC, and I'll also mention the CSDT and ISTQB upcoming live training. All right. And we'll talk about updates from India trip. Basically, we did something which is very relevant to us, and that is CSDT Plus. Now, as part of this, what we'll have to look at is CSDT Plus is nothing but it is a CSDT member plus skill gap analysis. That is what is CSDT plus. So for a long time, we've been focusing. You all can see my screen, I'm assuming, team. So the skill gap analysis, thank you, is very important activity that we need to work on. So what is JPAC? Briefly, we mentioned the whole process of job hunt and how we'll get to also I'll mention. I just wanted to check if Ruxana is there so that I can quickly introduce the entire team who's available from our side. I can make Ruxana, yes, you're there. I'm going to make you the organizer so you are able to participate as well. We also have Vandana and who else? I believe Ravi and Vimal from Varkasa office team in India. Okay, great. So I'm going to come to Shankar and Ruxana with specific questions that you can help me answer. In the meanwhile, I will just request Shankar to keep a complete overview on CSDT. What is it? All right. And that will give everyone kind of an analysis on how we have to get there. I'm going to take next 5 minutes just explain about our JPAC program at ITE Learn and what is it that we are trying to do here. All right. Thank you. So first and foremost thing, team, like it's almost like a quick summary of what we did earlier. You have to build your knowledge, and that you could do it through our videos. There's free content, and that is one way. The second is our video/live membership. We're coming up with a new pricing page that will make things very easy for you to choose on how things go. Second is skill, and this is purely based on merit. What we have not included very well earlier, and we plan to do it aggressively now, is assessment. When we say assessment, this will be test, mock interviews, resume review, project work review, etc. So there's a lot that we will need to assess for each individual. The fourth is called certification. When we talk about certification, when we do all of this and we know that you have covered all your bases and you've gone through the right learning, you are capable now to start working, that gets classified as certification. Luckily, we have internal certifications. When I say internal, ITE Learn issued. And when we look at the complexity of how these certification programs work, you will understand that these are beyond the simple tests that we write elsewhere. I'm not comparing it that those models are bad. I'm just saying that the depth that we have gone practically has taken all our time so far. We have not focused too much on this area, which we should all be doing. The members have been successfully getting their jobs, and that's a good thing. I'm not denying from that perspective. But these certifications really add value, especially as a talking point during your interview. Now, simplest example is what are third-party certifications or external? Give me some examples, please. The easiest one to think about is ISTQB, or let's say Microsoft certified, okay, or you have Sun certification. All right. Of course, SAP, Oracle, everyone will have their own certifications for the tool. Correct? Right thing? And these also have a lot of weightage because just on a resume and hunt, they will find it. They will not find you that, hey, do you have something like ENIOT certification? No one is going to search yet till the product becomes popular in the market for such a word and see if you're certified on it, right? They will when it becomes popular, but they will search for this. However, once you get to the interview and they ask you, hey, what is this? And you're able to explain how you got through the certification, it covers 70-80% of the skill expectations. So that makes it very easy. Now, these certifications become very important, and you have to digitally carry them. All right. If you do not digitally carry them, you're not unable to put it on your profile or your resume. You cannot really show it to you. So now, from a skill, like I said, merit is important. We had simple sample projects, like everyone did. But this is like 5 years ago story, all right, where we really didn't have a development house. Now we have an in-house development. We built extremely complex web mobile apps, the complete user story to delivery. Yes, we have our own challenges in terms of product development, but we do an amazing job overall with the output. Now, for such projects, these are real, actual projects, and we are recruiting constantly for these projects. And while a lot of you are doing the internship with us, either part of JPAC program or Atomic 77 Academy back in India, all of these are something that you will carry very strongly within your resume team. So the advantage that it will carry for your resume is humongous. Now, what we want to put together is a 10-day event. What will this 10-day event do? Very simple. Get you, when I say you, this is specifically for JPAC, CSDT, yes, and maybe some of the Selenium Live project members. Okay, a great earning career. That's it. There's nothing else, team. So all that is required to shape you to this entire thing is important. Now, it is mandatory that you have gone through the knowledge and skill acquisition. In the sense, you've participated in our video or live training, you've gone through that entire program, you have also successfully got into some of our project work, and you are either currently working on them or you're almost ready to work on a project work. You are fine to work with us on this JPAC. I just want to see how quickly we can do this. And for this, we need to do individual skill gap analysis. Now, I will hand it over to Shankar to briefly talk about our CSDT program. This is our Certified Selenium Developer Program training. All right. One quick question to everyone in the audience. Team, anyone in this audience who's not part of a software test automation community? Because this is very specifically for software test automation. JPAC at IT Learn is a program that we are going to expand, like I showed in the 7-minute video, to multiple things. But currently, it is CSDT that is available with us. And that is what we've been focusing on. Shankar is helping us significantly on this. I also want to introduce you to Ruxana, as Ruxana and Shankar both are going to be helping me through this 10 days in seeing how we can take on all the amazing potential that we've built on you in these two into the job market and get you a successful career ahead. That's our whole intent. And we're going to focus an hour each day to try and accomplish this. So there will be a lot of volunteer activities that we may request from the audience, but most of it will be 90% common. So when we talk about resume and how to put a project, it will be common. When we talk about how to do a telephonic call, it's going to be common. But then when it comes to mock interviews, it can be one-on-one specific with you. All right. So let's go through this. And I'm sure at the end, at the earliest possible, okay, even midway through the program, all of you should be able to get your resumes ready and for publishing into the open market. All right. Now, having said that, Ruxana's primary role, she's been with IT Learn for a long time now, and she's someone who studied our entire program very well. She knows how a lot of us have gone through this entire stage and moved on to a successful job career. So she's going to assisting me and Shankar through this entire process. One of the most important thing is skill gap analysis. Primarily, there's something that is still a gap between you and the job. And I think the way I look at it is very simple. Mastering interviews. It's just, that's all it is. How do we master getting to an interview? Once our resume does the job and we are found online, how does we get into the platform and speak so that they're all very impressed? That's what we'll focus on. So let me have Shankar continue now for a little while to show you certified Selenium developer training. What are the contents in it? Shankar, what my intent is primarily on the topics of what it is. And then we will take that and create a template around the skill gap analysis. Okay?
Sure. Yeah.
Can I make you present it, Shankar? You may want to use a notepad or something.
Sure.
Thank you.
All right. So can you all hear me good as well as see my screen? It should be pointing right now with the notes on CSDT. Okay. So yeah, the complete
small error. It is CSDT.
Sorry.
CSDT. No problem.
Yeah. Sure. Thanks for that. So yeah, basically the complete detailed content for the template that we're looking, Karthik, I will be definitely sharing post the session, and then we can convert into a template. For now, for helping the team in a very quick way to understand, there might be some people who already know about some Selenium, few of the topics, and just wondering what is this developer training is all about. And then I know there was a question about certification of it, like somebody was asking what kind of certifications on the Selenium that is available. So to answer that question precisely, there is no official certification on the Selenium as such, the way we have it for a Java or we have it for a HP UFT tool or any other tool. What most of the certifications that you find on the online are the actual training programs, or the training people, training institutes are creating. The only training, the only certification that you can go in there is majorly Java certification, that if you are interested. But most of the people, like, definitely, IT Learn is like in top, I would say like top 3 definitely. So the similar program that what we are trying to do is a training certification program on the Selenium side. So who will go through entire Selenium and then does the project work, and will get you through some sort of interview questions, and then exam pattern that you will get through. Whoever will get through that will have a certification. So similarly, you get to see a lot of certification. If you go Google it, you'll find a lot of certifications on Selenium, but there's nothing like officially from a Selenium, because Selenium is an open source and people just trying to create knowledge base out of it and some sort of validation about the knowledge. So that's the main thing about it.
I think any company which has a product built over Selenium can also give a certification. Now, HP, in fact, Micro Focus right now, right? With the Lean FT, they use Selenium, and they can continue to certify, because what they certify is someone specialized on the tool or not, or on that process or methodology or not. That is what it is. Recognition of the certification is what sometimes is different. But either way, it is fine, actually, Shankar. Either it is good that your resume is found, or you have a lot to talk about because it is unknown. Because if, let's say, someone is Sun Java certified, I will not ask very relevant questions on that, because at least the theory that person knows. So some trust there. If I don't trust, if I begin with a question in mind, then there's a lot we'll get a chance. And I would recommend getting certifications, whatever best available. Having 2 or 3 certifications to a profile will really help, right, Shankar?
Yeah, that's always helps. Like at my level, I almost go for a hiring on a monthly basis. Like we conduct a lot of events. Let's say if 2 people, get shortlisted and they have a similar skills, went through. Like in my case, we have a first is a written test, then followed by the test cases. So all these things I'm going to elaborate a lot in the next 10. Is it
Go
from
on,
my
please.
side?
No. My end. I'll
Okay,
go back on you.
sure.
Sorry.
So yeah, we're going to elaborate all these, steps of interviews that generally happens, and what we try to do it in my organization. The very first thing that generally goes is the written test. And then after that, you will have a test cases round, and then gets into 2 or 3 technical rounds of it. So let's say if let's say 2 candidates have gone through really all of them, and they're pretty much equal in terms of this knowledge and the skill that we're talking about. And if I'm not able to make a decision, probably certification will also weigh that point, and they'll say, hey, this person already knows the process, already has gone through that training and then got a certified, so probably it'll be easy for me to pick up the person who have a certification. So certification definitely adds value when it comes to interviews as well as for your work point of view. So because when there are 2 differences, a non-certified and a certified, the non-certification guy probably might not gone through the whole training in a professional way, in a
Correct.
required
There
way.
was a lot of
Whereas
gaps when I see non-certified. There'll be gaps in that. Like, because even if someone works for 3 years, for example, on let us say latest Selenium WebDriver and a framework, they must have worked only on one thing, maybe only a page factory model. All that they knew is that. They might not know anything to do with maybe cloud execution or grid or any of the other brilliant features that it offers. But if it's certification, then we know that, okay, they've covered all the necessary things.
Yeah. And there's one other question, Ramesh, thinking it before I go into the details again. How demandable and stable the job market for the next 5 years as a QA Selenium tester? Okay, let's not take 5 years, is too long for an IT, but definitely let's take next 3 years. I can see still, I would say only more than 50% have migrated from any of their tools into the open source of Selenium. So there is a still scope for a lot of migration to Selenium, yet which is going to happen. And the people who have already migrated, you can expect them to stabilize and take it to their automation to the next level in terms of, let's say if they have automated only a smoke or a sanity test till now and a bit of a regression, so covering the end-to-end testing. So those are the next steps that are happening. So you can definitely rely on this tool for the next 3 years, if not 5 years. But definitely the path is very green for Selenium with Java, because it's all open source. A lot of people are trying to migrate. Even the multinational companies are trying to migrate to this. So that's one of the questions. But before that, the agenda for me to cover is on this. Yeah.
Yes. So just to add to that, QA Selenium tester, I doubt it beyond even 6 months. In fact, I would wanted to ask a poll question, but the audience can help me answer. How many positions are really coming up which says QA tester, manual tester only, which says Selenium basics? No, I think everyone is asking for automation testers. They're asking for developers. There's nowhere I'm seeing a position like, QA Selenium tester, which is that simple. Developers, yes. So they expect you to work on frameworks till some products come into the market, which again makes development go away, which is the BDD driven. Sorry, Shankar, go on.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So again, I think the Java programming, you are definitely, core Java programming is required, not like a Java developer, but to an extent, almost all the topics like the OOPS concepts, creating page object model, like different pages, and then, creating it as a framework, connecting to the various components like databases, working with Excel sheets, reporting. So to that level, I would say in a scale of 1 to 10, you would definitely be need around 6 minimum. All right. So coming back to this course, what is the main difference that we are trying what we're trying to mainly differentiate from a normal Selenium course to a developer training is that definitely you will get to work with the fundamentals like IDE, which generally anybody try to start with it, because this will give you an idea of how recording and playback works and how an automation works. And then what are the different programming languages that I can convert this Selenium code that I've just generated into a simple HTML code into, be it a Python or a Java or C#, Ruby. So to that extent, and also if somebody is directly coming to the automation from a manual background, so Selenium IDE will help you a bit in getting into. Will not generally take much sessions on this. It's hardly 2 to 3 sessions just to quickly ramp up on what is an automation, how controls, basically how it identify the locators, and what kind of strategy Selenium tries to use. So we'll play around that typically. Then immediately we'll get into the Selenium WebDriver part of it, which is, again, I would not say this is too different from anybody is trying to give a training on Selenium. The actual things I'm going to list out a little later towards the end. But in Selenium WebDriver, we're going to spend about 16, the training videos, if you get through, you will get a complete picture of, like, we have around 16, sometimes, like, if you'll club it up with the previous mixed knowledge and all, you will find around 16 to 20 sessions on WebDriver alone, which covers how to identify or how to work with various locators, be it just not like a link or a text box or a combo box or radio button, a push button, how to work with the frames, HTML tables that are there in a page, and how to work with the different frames in a page. How to switch from one window to the other window, how to switch, what if an alert comes, because it's typically in web applications, alerts will pop up left, right. So what if an alert pops up, how can I switch, focus from one window to the other window. So including all that, right from a very basics of how to create a WebDriver interface object, and then how do you perform various operations. Different controls will have different operations. For example, if you have a text box, the operations will be different. List box operations will be different. If it is obviously table, obviously the operations will be different. So understanding the knowledge bank on WebDriver, in my view, is that if you get through an experience of various different controls, because at the end of the day, whatever the project is, if you keep the SMA knowledge, the domain knowledge aside, for an automation engineer, what is important is all you need to know that what are these different controls that are located on the application. So typically any application that you take it, a web page will have various controls like a text box, a combo box, right? So you'll have a radio button, push buttons, tables. So those are the things that you need to, if you can identify, and what is a mechanism that the Selenium use, and what operations that I'm going to perform, how to enter a value, how to read a value, how to check a particular table has a, without really going through each and every cell. If I can probably find it out, write a method, and reuse it in multiple places. The main thing that comes is, right, in Selenium, even if you're going to write a single line of code, you will, even maybe you're a single member in the team, but you have to assume tomorrow if one more person joins, how can he reuse my code? So that is where the concept of functions, methods will come into picture, how we actually reuse this code, create into a library. So at organization level, generally what happens, they'll create a common library part of the framework, which people tries to use across the frameworks or across the projects within the same organization. So creating all those reusable functions, even it could be a single line of code, how to create into a function and make it as a call, how to handle the exceptions. Like, when you write a piece of code, you definitely needs to ensure not only just the positive scenarios, but how, if an exception comes, how to handle that exceptions, how to catch that exception, what kind of an error message that you have to throw, or warning message that you have to throw. So to that level, we're going to understand, and we have about 16 to 20 sessions on the overall WebDriver part of it. And this WebDriver I have created into basic as well, basic level, and as well as advanced level. And apart from these, now whenever you write the code again, you need to put into some sort of a framework model. It's not like, okay, I just open an application, then I perform these operations, and I verify whether this particular test case value is matching with the expected value or not. Instead of that, we need to really put into, when it goes to the real work, we have to put into a proper framework model. So for that, we are going to understand different things. Like, to start with, we will look at what is a JUnit, basically, which is a unit testing framework that is available. All the developers in your organization who are working on Java typically would be using this unit test framework from JUnit. We'll just quickly look at that, and then we will go to a TestNG framework, which is very popular at QA automation organizations. So because this comes with a lot of inbuilt features, reporting, prioritizing your test cases, categorizing your test cases. Let's say if you have a 200 test cases, we generally categorize into what are my top 10 or 15% of sanity or smoke test that I need to run for every single build that I'm going to get it. So you're going to create a smoke test, a regression test, end-to-end test. So categorizing your test cases, prioritizing your test cases, and then when some of those you will segregate into a setup method. Like before I run this particular test case, this is a method that I need to run. Like we generally have annotations in TestNG. So there are a lot of advantages of going with the TestNG framework. So we're going to look at them, and there is a TestNG listeners which helps us to log the required information. So we look at JUnit framework, TestNG framework. Apart from this, we are going to work with data-driven framework that will get us to introduce what if a similar form I have and I need to test with 1,000 different records or 10,000 different records or 100,000 different records. How can I make use of the similar code, just work for various records? So this is when you will get to work with Apache POI, Excel jar files for connecting and reading the data from an Excel, writing the data back to an Excel. So we'll look at data-driven framework. We'll look at keyword-driven framework. If you look at most of the top frameworks that we have in the market right now, and who wanted to kind of simplify their automation for users, end users in their team. For example, after you sign off your system testing, finally users also have to perform the testing, but they are not very technical. So a lot of teams, what they try to do, they develop a framework in such a way that even the end users can use it. So one example from that is keyword-driven framework. We have behavior-driven development framework. We have a page object model. When I talk about it, it's more like a technical, only people who understand page object pattern or page factory method, who are from a typical Java kind of a background, only can understand. But when we go to keyword-driven framework, when we go to the Cucumber kind of a framework, which is behavior-driven development, so easily end users can also gel and can integrate into it. So I'll just list out all the frameworks. We have already discussed all these frameworks, part of the development, myself, Karthik. So you definitely need to get a knowledge of all these things. But once you go and join in a company, if you are the only member, then we will also recommend what you have to use. If you're already joining in a team where there is a framework being already followed, so you already have the knowledge and the skill required for it. So we'll see kind of developing a framework. So the difference is, a lot of people teach on all the Selenium topics, and then let's say here is how you can read the data from an Excel, how you can write the data into an Excel, and here is a database connectivity, and they leave it to there. In this course, part of the development training, we're going to look at developing of the frameworks, data-driven framework, keyword-driven framework, page object model framework we're going to look at. And apart from this, the other major thing that comes into picture is, of course, you may have to work with parallel execution. So we are going to use something called Selenium Grid, and we'll see how we can perform parallel execution. We'll work with how we can do a database testing by connecting to it. And as I told you, we'll be working with how do we work with alerts, pop-ups. But the main difference that comes is, apart from all these topics, now let's say you develop a code. If you look into today's version control system, basically where the developers maintain and manage their code for source control, it is the Git and GitHub is a main central repository. So if you can also be familiar with Git and GitHub, and if you maintain your automation code in the version control system like Git and GitHub, where the developers will maintain the code, so that's going to be like you're automatically integrating your code with them. And I'm going to talk about few important steps that are going to come later, which all needs to be integrated together for achieving something called continuous integration and continuous deployment. So towards that, you definitely need to know various tools like Git and GitHub. You need to know how do you understand how do you create Selenium project and all by now, but how you can actually take care of your dependencies, because in Java there are a lot of jar files. In the world of Java, it's totally jar files and var files. In case of web, it is .war file, but rest all .jar file. And you will see every week or every fortnight or every month, the corresponding technology will come up with different versions of it. For example, when I said testng version today, the same might not be there next month, so it might get a new version of it. So naturally there is a problem arises is that how can I manage these versions? So managing all those versions becomes easy when you create your project into Apache Maven project. And your development team also creates the Maven project. You also create a Maven project, and there's a specific folder, and your developers team will maintain. And there is a test folder in which you will maintain all your code and resources. And there is a pom.xml in which you maintain all your dependency jar files. So it will automatically download from the Maven repository if it is not available. So your project build will not fail, basically. So we'll look at how do we create this Apache Maven project, and then okay, now you have cleared with, you have created an automation in a particular framework in a Maven project to take care of the dependencies. But how frequently you are going to run this automation? Are you running it on a weekly basis, monthly basis, or daily basis? That is going to be a big challenge. For example, today's most of the organizations are in agile, and they might have a weekly build. Weekly is actually too long. A lot of companies are having daily build, and some of the multinational companies, to talk about like Facebook, Amazon, Netflix, they will have multiple releases in a daily basis. In a single day, they will have n number of releases going on. So are you ready for working with the corresponding development team and the operations team? So there are two different teams. Development team writes the code, does the unit testing, and makes it available for you. Operations team takes care of the operations management, the servers management, deploying, building the code, and everything. And since those two were working in an isolated manner and the deployments were delaying it, you might have heard about a concept of DevOps came into picture, which the industry is expecting both of them to have both the skills. Developers needs to know operations side, operations team needs to know development side, so that this time lag between them is, the SLA, like somebody has an issue. Let's say operations team find out that the code is not getting built. Previously, what they used to do, they used to create a ticket or send out an email, and the development team has to come online, then they look into issue. So there was a time lag. No, we don't have that much time, because the releases have to go and the testing is depending on the build. After that, users are depending on the build. So they came up with a concept called DevOps, where operations teams to know if there is a fix that they can make, they'll make the fix and they'll move forward. Similarly, developers needs to know from the entire operation side, so that they can take care of their code development according to the different servers and the configurations that we're going to deploy. Okay, so that's anyway the latest trend in the industry, so I just want to touch upon it. And QA needs to be familiar with this DevOps concept, and you should be also, basically what I'm trying to say is, build should not be delayed just because of a developer things are failing, or QA things are failing, or operation side things are failing. Everything should be onboarded smooth. For that reason, you need to know a few of the DevOps tools like Jenkins. Jenkins is one of the tool in which you're going to, okay, whatever the automation script that you have developed, you're going to put it in Jenkins, and you will schedule it in such a way that when the developer's code gets built, let's say every day at 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. PST, and after the successful completion of the build, run my automation code. You'll in fact put it in such a way that only when that particular job successful, run my automation script. And you're going to schedule your Selenium script in the Jenkins, which is probably created as a Maven project, and it will automatically run, send out an email if the project, if automation gets successful. If automation gets failed, also the stakeholders will get an email. So you need to know all these various tools like Git, GitHub, Apache Maven, Jenkins, and you need to even look at the latest trends that are happening. Like there are a few automation frameworks available around TTT, test-driven development model, acceptance test-driven development model, behavior-driven development model. To name, like you might have heard about, Cucumber is one of the tool which is majorly famous for behavior-driven development. So we have discussed that particular tool And there are various organizations who have taken this Selenium libraries and extended to the next level, that is like a framework on top of it. The best example is from ITL and Workers INC, Eniot. Similarly, you will find a robot framework in the market, which is definitely extended from the Selenium library, using Selenium library as a keyword-driven framework. So we're going to discuss these things. And of course, in all these examples, Java plays a major role. So without Java, you cannot really do any example. So Java is a programming language that we're going to look at and how work with through different examples on these things. Now, bringing these concepts together, it actually makes you like, when we work with Git and GitHub, when we maintain our code, you will get familiar with like, how to check out the code from a repository, how to, make the changes in your local repository, how to check in back into the system. And when you check in, what kind of things version control will system will take care of it, what kind of comments you should put it. So all those things is pretty much like, developer maintains the code in the system. And since you're also going to work closely and run your automation in a continuous fashion on a daily basis or a weekly basis, so that's exactly where the industry is looking for you to work in current trends. Not like you can Selenium automation that I do it and I just run it only when the bill comes to me, or when the bill is already generated last night, but you come to the office next day morning and then you manually run your results. So people are not expecting that. So it all has to go continuously. Let's say every day 6 p.m. bill gets generated. By 10 p.m. all the jobs needs to run. One is like checking out the code and building it, running your automation, or maybe preparing the installables is another script and deploying it in a server. Then your automation code running it and sending out the results. Then Cucumber kind of a script from end user side, which are created with a simple feature file, and then you convert it into Selenium code and running it. All that needs to go in a continuous fashion. And whether you are aligned for that or not is the biggest skill gap that we have from a people who just done with a Selenium course and what actually industry is looking for it. So that's pretty much, I will be kind of sharing with all the topics that we have offline in Excel sheet, and let's see who is familiar with those topics and where are your gaps on the individual side, and then we can get into one-on-one discussions and interview preparations. That's from my side, Karthik. Who's going next? Meanwhile, anybody has any questions on what we have just discussed?
Thank you, Shankar. All right. So I'll have Ruxana go maybe in a few seconds. Before that, audience, any questions? Thank you, Shankar, for kind of at length going through what we're doing. And in fact, we do have some content that we can show to the audience that I'll quickly do right now, that we've kind of put together, which talks about what we want to do in CSDT. And there's also a small PowerPoint that we prepared, about 6 months back. I'll make myself the presenter. Give me a second, please.
So meanwhile, there's one question from Rizwan. As part of this course, do you cover Jenkins for running scripts in CI/CD? Yes, that's the whole idea behind it. Yes, Rizwan, we'll look at that. Okay, somebody wanted my introduction. Yeah, I think somewhere we're going to definitely put up. I've been associated with IT Learn for about 3 years now. Overall, I have 14 plus years of industry experience, majorly from the QA side. I've not really worked on any development, but as the industry expects it, we have to just pick it up and do the things. So 14 plus years experience in the QA alone. Currently working as an architect or lead architect kind of a role for a multinational organization. For the confidential sake, I cannot really reveal it, but yeah. So, and apart from that, training is my passion. I've been providing the training for about 10 years now, associated with IT Learn for about 3 years. So I take all manual QA, Selenium with Java, all the trainings, and definitely you would have already found some content on IT Learn if you have started watching through videos. That's my introduction. All right. Looks like there is any other.
Oops, sorry, I was on
Video.
mute. I was
Okay.
saying thank you, Shankar. Thank you for introducing. My fault. I should have introduced. I always start with assuming that everyone knows about us, not too much introduction needed, and we go straight to the topic. But I'm sure as they keep listening to our sessions, they will recognize our voices and what we do. And Shankar, I'm in fact, 3 years long journey. I'm very glad we are still associated and so much more for us to do together. So team, a kind of a quick summary itself and also great PowerPoint that I can use to introduce Ruxana. But before I do that, this is something I did in July last year, team. And when we kind of introduced certified Selenium developer training, uh, all that kind of Shankar spoke about is what I kind of put it here. The fact that shift left and how dev and QA are coming together and what we need to evolve into more Selenium developers over testers and how we learn these and acquire the skills becomes important. The programming is stuff for manual testers understood and how we have evolved through creating so many um, you know, uh, certified individuals in our training. And there is, as we keep talking, we'll see that there is more and more coding. Each time we say, okay, maybe this is a new coding language or a new coding requirement comes up where you're technically again required to prove your programming skills. That becomes tough. And again, we cannot get that genuine hands-on expertise that we always dream of. And who is it first? Anyone who's kind of gone through this and anyone who's worked on any of our projects so far. And the solution that we said is how we build this entire program, work on job placements as well. We use anyot.com for automation framework. QA on Air was for two purposes. For remote live projects, while we didn't use QA on Air, we continue to work on them. But what we did is from a certification standpoint, we are able to say what we can use to certify for you to work on air. That is the other very important thing that I wanted to talk about. Team. Somewhere in this 10-day event, we will be covering how to work like on air. And the best word I could put is ninja on air. All I'm saying is, are we effective working remotely? Be it from home, be it from a different country, be it from anywhere. How effective are we in communicating and working? Like one of the clearest examples is when we do this live trainings, are we effective in doing what we're doing? Instead of using too many branding of our logos at the back end, we kept it simple. So the focus is on the topic. Instead of coming with a pre-prepared deck based on audience, we try and build on how we want to present. So this is very critical. And over the last, I would say, even before this July where CSDT was launched, we put together the entire program of live projects in a different way. Instead of meeting 2 times in 1 week, we all started meeting daily. Like we have now daily stand-up meetings for 30 minutes. And then each of the team members grouped into 2 or 3 individuals each have taken an assignment for the rest of the day, interact individually, perform a task, and report back next day. This was an amazing model that we worked on any of speech development. So that is what I want Ruxana to talk about. So I will introduce Ruxana. This is an old PowerPoint team, so some of the logos are not relevant anymore. But predominantly the content of what we do are mentioned here. That was exactly the summary of what Shankar did. So Ruxana is currently working with Varkasa Inc., our organization, and she's assisting us on one, anyot speech, which is our latest version that's coming out into the market. And she's also assisting us on QAonair.com, which is our consulting platform. So I want to quickly hand it over to Ruxana, and she can walk us through how the anyot speech team is working on air and the typical challenges you face and how we overcome them. So nothing really prepared kind of a pitch, Ruxana, but if you have anything to show, that will be great as well. I just need you to present it. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Karthik. Hi, everyone. This is Ruxana, and I've been working with the team for a little more than a year. So I'll just briefly say what this is about, like the screen that you see. Let me just. So are you all able to see my screen?
Yes.
I assume yes. Okay, all right. So we're working on AnyAuth. It's primarily a test automation framework, and it has been built using Selenium, Core Java, and TestNG. The way it works is that like the test script where like the codes are written on Selenium WebDriver that is independent. That means that the end user, they do not have to make any changes to the code. So this is like a simple, like, you can see like join us and like a login. So first what user has to do is has to sign up. So you click on login and sorry, you click on join us, and these are the you see that full name. These are the information that you have to fill up, and then you click on proceed, and it's going to take you to another page. So after you sign up, then you click on login. So Karthik, do you want me to show like how it goes, like step by step, or do you just want me to like?
No, no. Actually, I was thinking why you were showing any hot orange to begin with. Then I thought, let you continue because
Okay,
it's
all
very
right. So
interesting
now
from
we
an
have.
architecture. Yes. No,
Okay.
no, it was nice. You can continue to show a demo if you have one, but ideally, just the pitch, how the team is working and what you're doing.
Okay, all
But
right.
your flow is fine, Ruxana. So please go ahead. It's very
Okay.
interesting.
Okay, I
I like
just
it.
like to
Thank you.
point to all of you, like this is like the page that you see. This is orange version. This was for the single user, and now we are working on peach version, which has where we have added a few features, we have added like parallel testing, which means like before we used to run like one test individually. Now we are able to run like multiple tests. That is one feature. Another one is we moved to page so that we can transfer from like one user to a small group of users, like like up to 10 members. And another feature is like, we are trying, like AnyAuth Orange has been built on 66 built-in keywords, like, like open browser, click button. So we have added more keywords and we're trying to optimize them. And also like, we can create like, test cases like, faster. So like we have added like this few features in the Peach version. So we have like three teams, like this is how we work. We have the QA BA team and the cell development team, and the other one is like the dev team, like the development team who's involved in coding. So what the role of QA BA is, what they do, like, we have a Trello. We use that as a test management tool with the QA BA team. Like they add all the requirements on Trello and then they are prioritized. And after discussion with the team, those requirements, they are assigned to the development team in India. And the cell dev team, their main role is like the built-in keywords that we have that Orange had initially like 66 built-in keywords, and we added like around 30 more, so perhaps around 100. So we try to verify them that they're all like like they work and they work with the application, this AnyAuth tool. And the development team, we have onshore and we also have in India. They work in building codes for the application. So this is like, the work that we do. And we get on like, Skype, like daily communication is maintained like, by WhatsApp, by Skype, and we share like all the documents in Google Drive where like, everyone has access. And uh, I'm just trying to figure out like, if I'm missing anything. And like, if I have to talk about challenges, sometimes, like, communication, yes, that could be that did, like, pose as a challenge. Sometimes, the requirements were not clear, and we did not get, like, feedback immediately, but like nothing major, because like, whenever we got back to our, like, got in touch with the project manager, he was able to explain, like, things to us. So it was, like, not like a very smooth ride. We did have challenges, but we have learned to overcome that. And I think, like, we have a great team, like, very dedicated members, and we get along well. Like, we have become, like, more like a family rather than like team members. So that's all I have to say, Karthik. Anything else you want me to
Sure.
add?
No, thank you, Sana. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
So just to add on your behalf, in terms of any Peach team. So what happened, everyone, is a lot of our students have, who have not working through December and Jan, most of them started participating in this project. And the core thing is a backend Selenium engine, which is primarily a keyword driven and a data driven framework. And that entire coding of how those keywords can be called, how the Selenium WebDriver works for each different type of browser, packaging it entire together to work with a web front end, which is a test management. So all this work is being done by, I would say currently we have about 13 on-site and 7 offshore. And we will now coming to a stage where we put it together. So about 10 to 12 people overall will be finishing it. This team is spread across, and they are one of the best examples of how to work on air. The team has not just learned how they are developing their skill as a certified Selenium developer, but this Any Speech team has also shown capability that they can be trusted to work remotely. And that especially starts with a communication issue, because a lot of times the words we speak, and if we add the facial expression to it, makes all the difference. And that we lack in an online world. Even though we have all these digital cameras and all the different video conferencing options, still technology is not, or bandwidth aren't so fast where we can have steady communication of video. So we rely on our work speaking for us, our output must speak, and our discipline. So that whole model is something we have to build. Now, that model of working, when I say on air, is in remote, is very, very critical. Once we are able to do that, you could start working where you are, when you are, how you are. And one of the concepts that I want you to start understanding is, look at a Uber rider. When they want, they put the meter on their own car and say, you know what, I need some extra cash, or I'm free right now, and additional pocket money wouldn't hurt. Go pick up passengers from A to B, drop it. That was the exact requirement from Uber as a company. Pick up the passenger at A and drop them safely at B, and 99.99% all goes well. Beautiful. Everyone's happy. So the ease with which a customer seeking a ride to go from A to B, instead of choosing a taxi, came to Uber, is because of the speed and ease with which execution is done. Now, if we have a similar platform and we show our capability that we are like Uber riders, Uber drivers, that way we'll take you from A to B, and here is our skill. We know how to work remotely. That is an amazing skill set that we've developed, team. All right. So, Ruxana, do you have there's a profiling metrics that you did, remember? I don't know, maybe in tomorrow's session we can look at it. I want to go through and understand each and every member that will participate. Now, let me quickly get back to my screen, team, and show you. Okay, I'll be the presenter now. And here is the list of the different topics that we were talking about. advanced CSDT, and this is again a lot of those we're covering. I thought I will summarize the entire CSDT program into a shorter session, but there's no shortcut. We have to go through the long thing, and we are building on Ruxan. I think this document you're working on different aspects on how we can address the questions that we need to have answered. So some of these documentations are very important, interesting things that will come up. Now, let me mention from a JPAC standpoint, this is the finishing of a old batch. Rather, I would say multiple batches. Okay, so new batch starts with CSDT, new batch. Starts exactly a week from now. That would be 30th, I believe, right? And correct me if I'm wrong, Ashna. 30th Jan. The timing I'll confirm in a minute, and I'll come back to JPAC also, eligibility and so on. Like I said, JPAC, CSDT, of course, the luckiest members, and I'll call all of these year-end sale members lucky because they've got one of the finest offers in terms of what we could do our future. So your confidence and trust in us as a company means a lot, team. Thank you if you're one of them. We also have the Selenium Live project members who are eligible to attend this. Now, this 10-day, day one is today, more like an orientation. We're changing the whole thing, okay? Now, this is mandatory for everyone. Today's session, I know, is open. A lot of non-members also have joined. But from tomorrow's session, it will be only for eligible members. Okay. Now, how about new members? New members start with CSDT. Okay. And you focus on the learning first. All right. All right, and this is the batch for it. After 4 to 6 weeks, move to JPAC. We'll have another one every 1 month, 1.5 months. May not be 10 days, but it could be 5 days because now we know exactly. It requires 10 days, team, because there's a lot that we'll have to go through. Focus, I'm looking at about 20-25 people maximum. That is what we will focus. Now, there is also an ISTQB training that we are planning for, I think, 5th of Feb or 6th of Feb. Okay. The timing that we came up to do this sessions are this. So we start with JPAC. Let me try and put this correctly, Ashna, and correct me if I'm not wrong. From 4:45, oh, I kind of, the whole thing is 6:30, 6:15, 5:45. Is it 5:45 p.m.? PM Pacific time to
Correction, the paid sessions are starting from 4:45 p.m. to 6 p.m. Pacific.
4:45 p.m. to 6 p.m. Pacific time.
Yeah.
That is 6:15 to 7:45 a.m. IST. Correct? Now that is JPAC, and CSDT will be starting with right after that.
Yes,
I think
6 p.m. Pacific to 7:30.
Okay, yes. So 4:45 to 5:45. Okay, so 6 to 7:30. In between, we'll have a Q&A, which is live, because JPAC is a lot. We will do live and recorded. All right. and Q&A is totally has to be live. This is a technical discussion that JPAC and CSDT members will get to ask this to all of us. Karthik, Shankar, and Ruxana. All right, one of us will definitely be there. 1 second, team. So JPAC is live and recorded, not live and recorded, I wouldn't say, but more of the fact that you will have to do a lot of things offline, team. Okay, so while we meet live, you'll have to do a lot of offline activities. All right, and then this will basically be maybe 6 to 6:15 p.m. Pacific time. We'll have live Q&A live, and then CSDT will start right after, from 6:15 p.m. to 7:45 p.m. Pacific time. It's almost a 3-hour schedule overall that we're putting. So I think this is what it is, right? Ashna, I want to say something. Yeah, 1 hour 15 minutes here.
Yes, Karthik.
I'll not put the IST time and confuse it further. Now this is recorded live. What that means is, very recently Shankar has done exactly the same training, and we're going to be playing the same live, and we would be attending it as well along with each of you. So any questions are answered. So the same topics and any changes that we see that are relevant, we will pause and try and explain that too. Okay, so if you're a beginner, you have to start with CSDT. Okay, and that is starting, like I said, from the 30th Jan, and ISTQB is from the 6th Jan. Now, more of these details, team, we'll try and consolidate this and send it across. I do have a couple of poll questions, and I also want to take audience questions. Anything from IT Learn team that I need to add? Can you please mention? How many of you know about any or who are, okay? I think this is good. A couple of poll questions that I'll launch, please. So team, I request you all to participate in this quick poll. Shouldn't take more than 5 seconds for each of you while I'm taking questions from the chat. Can I have CSDT recorded videos, please? Yes. Now, let me explain you, team. The way our itlearn.com's new membership works. Okay. One is free. What is free with us? There's a lot of wiki, videos, and self-learning content that is available. 2 is membership. All right. Membership has access to all our recorded videos that include every video that we put at itlearn. Okay, and then we have upgrades for, let's say, live sessions. You pay a certain amount per month. You don't need more than 3 months. So whatever I'm writing, team, is not visible yet, but it will be once I start sharing this. Let me see for questions. Okay, team, I've got 80% votes. I'm going to quickly close this poll and share this. Wow, so we've got very, very little participants from Australia, New Zealand, UK, Europe, but we've got 23% from India and South Asia, and 71% from America. 6% Australia, New Zealand, thank you. Maybe a couple of you from there, or 3-4 of you. Thank you. Okay, so let me hide this poll, and this is what I was talking about. So a few questions came on the membership. So I said there is a free one for itlearn where you get access to a lot of things. Then the membership starts with access to all our recorded videos. We have 2 products in this. Okay, you have 1 year access or lifetime access. What does it do? Access to all our recorded videos. Please note that, team. So any course, so we will no longer stop you saying that, hey, you have not paid for ISTQB, you cannot learn that. Hey, you've not paid for Selenium or JPAC, you cannot attend this session. But if the live sessions are happening, you can upgrade by paying a small amount per month, more like Netflix. You want to use it for, let's say, 3 months, maybe it's $25, you just pay $75, finish a JPAC or CSDT. If you want to do live project, this is purely based on merit. You do well, then we get you in there. Assessments like tests and certification is again a small fee. Because what happens, team, these are some things that we have not built so far, we will make it. But I will promise you one thing, from now on, IT learn will definitely be affordable for everyone across the globe. That is a promise. Certification, again, a small fee that covers our operational cost, team. You won't believe IT learn's operational cost is significant. That's a lot of it. And then we have jobs. Again, there will be a small fee as long as we continue to associate. So instead of taxing you and taking a bulk amount, we're opening up with a new model that will help you through. That I believe will get launched very soon. Okay, I'm gonna. So this is the only thing that we have, team, with IT. All right. So the only thing that you cannot purchase is participation live project. That is based on how you learn. I'm sure you repeat it, if not 2 times, 3 times, you will be eligible for the live project. That I'm confident. There are many members who took even a year to build confidence with our training programs, and I'm fine. That's a great way to go. So team, I will now take questions whichever is not answered. So there's a question of, can I have CSDT recorded videos? Absolutely yes, because our basic membership will give you access to all our videos. If I'm working as manual tester for about 6+ years, zero knowledge of automation, where do you suggest I start? Sure, Sanjay, perfect place to start is CSDT. That is what you need to do. Certified Selenium Developer Training starts with basics of software testing and then goes to advanced automation. Okay, so for someone who does not have even the basics of software testing, we can do it. What I'm trying to see is if we can start 2 batches parallelly, batch 1 and batch 2, which is advanced. Because no one in this audience would need to attend any of these. So that way there will be 3 live sessions happening. That will be JPAC, CSDT Basics, and CSDT Advanced. So this is a little logistical nightmare for us. We just want to accommodate everyone, especially globally, to attend live. We'll create the schedule. We'll let you know soon, team. So Sanjay, that should have answered your question on where you can start. Another question from Biplab. Any session after 9 p.m. Pacific time USA is easier to attend because most people stay at home at night. Please let us know if it's possible. I have a big problem, team, and the problem is the globe. If you look at the globe, we are really struggling out here. See, now we are able to kind of go only to a certain amount of window. We are unable to go beyond. So if I cover Pacific time, let's say 9 p.m., all right, it is already midnight and I lose East Coast. Very early in the UK, kind of maybe okay, okay here, and then again bad for Australia and New Zealand. So this becomes a little challenge somewhere, I don't know. We will try and revolve these things a few times, okay, and that will help. Let me go back to the questions. I hope you're all with us, team. There are about 44 of us right now in this audience. What is important is to stay focused on the topic. It does not matter if we have 1,000 attendees, if we have even 50, but all well connected. And at the end, we all get what we're looking at from a career and job. That's what is important. Another one, question from, can you provide syllabus with which Java core programming topic widely used in Selenium Java, such as, okay, I've seen a lot of questions coming on this. Here is how we need to work. You need to start with a certain amount of trust and confidence. If you believe you need to build that a little bit more about IT learn for the beginners, I strongly recommend speak to one of our team members and we'll guide you through some of summaries of what we do. Once you do that, forget about what gets covered in it, how it gets covered. It is our duty. And if there are further gaps that we see from your skill to what is required in the market, we will put you through that skill gap analysis like we are currently doing with our JPAC members. Okay. While it was only for our JPAC members, we're also welcoming the most merited ones who have done well with simple training, so put in the hard work. So come with learning as your priority. Keep questions away. We will address, we will take you. Because what I've seen happening in today's learning model team is too many questions are trying to be spoon-fed. It is not required. We will go through a very structured, easy learning. Most questions should get answered by the way we explain. All right? And in terms of what you should refer, which book, what topics we will cover, do not worry. We gave you the overall view and we will send you more details, but have that confidence in us, please. That is the way you will really be successful. Do yes members need to, yes members, like I said, are special. They don't need to pay for this right now. Okay. Sir, I purchased 1 year access. Okay, Parmesh, I'm not sure. So can I know the price? I'm not sure, Parmesh, but please contact the sales team about pricing and so on. Lenora, I have Selenium Advanced and any other certification. Do videos now? Can you clarify your question once again for me, Lenora? Priya, if I join JPAC program, can I access the videos of it lifetime? Lifetime, I'm not sure, Priya. That, one question I'll get back. What is the current JPAC price, CSDT price? 1 second, team. And if there's anything else that is additional out here. Okay. Is the CSDT class Monday to Friday? Yes. Sure, thank you. Okay. If I have lifetime access, I'm looking for Selenium Core Java live classes. I have to pay fee again. Videos, you pay it for once, either 1 year or lifetime. If you need to participate in any of these programs, like certification and all that, there will be fees associated. When you combine all of them, then it becomes a CSDT or a JPAC. All right. Kalpana, also some confusion in terms of live and live projects. I think you'll be taken care by the team. I plan to work from home in this. Is this field Selenium and manual testing helps me for that? Yeah, that's a great question. I'm going to take this minute or two on this thing. I'm planning to work from home. Is this field Selenium or manual testing helps me for that? Okay. Definitely yes. So I can split that work from home, right, and planning. So maybe you're not, but maybe you're already working in the industry or IT, or maybe you're someone who's already working from home, but want to see if you learn Selenium or automation, then are there sufficient opportunities? Okay. Worldwide, work from home opportunities are still not as many as they need to be. Once they come up, the leverage of US or India will kind of minimize. So someone who's sitting maybe even in a remote town, let's say, or anywhere across the world, in Philippines, could be earning much more than someone who's sitting in San Francisco and still doing the same work. If you, Vyas, are someone who's capable to deliver work from home, which is working on air, then learning Selenium or automation testing will help you significantly, because a lot of this job and task can be done working from home. That is how Ruxana and our NEOT Peach team are working currently. I hopefully answered that question. There are more questions on do CSDT live or videos for me. Okay, so we will be playing those videos and attending live. There's no point in kind of repeating the same content. However, as we go through the content again this time together, we get a chance to pause, take questions, or we will get a chance to upgrade or correct anything that we said earlier. All right. So we have to do multiple things, team. As from Karthik, Shankar, and Ruxana's perspective, we want to ensure that we are not only teaching you, but we are also grooming you for putting you on job, be it working on air through QA on air or a consulting again through our Barka side. So team, I think most of the questions are answered. I am going to be ending the session. If there are any last two questions, I'm going to take that. How much it would be for CSDT and when is it going to start? When is it going to start? You can see it on the screen, 30th Jan. How much will it be? I'm not sure. I believe the price that is right now is $1,500, Ashna, and JPAC I know is $2,500. What else is the question?
$999.
CSDT is $999. Okay, cool. So that's the price. But again, team, a lot of you are already part of it. So I'm not here today selling any of this. So we will talk to you one-on-one to guide you through this model. JPAC is, if I'm not wrong, 2000, right? Okay. Will CSDT be enough for getting the job, or we need to do like web services, database testing, or any other? CSDT by itself is absolutely sufficient to get the job. Yes, you'll need to also learn web service and database testing. You cannot escape it, but it will not be such a big focus thing. Maybe an additional 2 to 3 hours on that below. When JPAC will go to start? JPAC starts with CSDT basics, and that is starting on the 30th of Jan. And then it ends with these 10 days of grooming. So all the JPAC and CSDT and ES members who are prepared and to kind of clarify for this, now we will take you through from tomorrow. Okay. So Ashna, I'm not sure tomorrow is an open session or not, because now we need to take each and every member, get their profiles created and so on. Ruxana, Shankar, Ashna, why don't we continue this discussion offline and talk about next steps right after this, please?
Sure.
And anything else, Ruxana, Shankar, Ashna, you want to add, or then we can end today's session and connect with the team later?
Not from my side, Karthik. No.
I'm good too.
Thank you. Thanks, Shankar. Thanks, Ashna, Ruxana, for helping me drive this session. It is like I deliberately did it, slowed it down. We are not in a hurry, team. This is very critical. So tomorrow onwards, we're very focused. We know exactly what we're going to be doing. I'll see you all tomorrow. Mostly it's going to be just our confirmed members. For the others, let's open up a discussion where we can probably address your questions on which program to go for, CSDT or ISTQB or JPAC and so on. Thank you, everyone. Take care. Bye now. See you. Bye.